Hey everyone, Ryan here, we're MandRproductions, and one of the biggest requests that I got when I got the new LEGO Star Wars Master Builder Series Mos Eisley Cantina was to compare it to the rest of the Mos Eisley Cantinas. And in this video, we will be doing just that with all four iterations of the LEGO Star Wars Mos Eisley Cantina from 2004, starting off with even yellow minifigures. Pretty crazy how far that's come. 2014 actually being a really good year for the Cantina there. 2018 kind of taking a large step back, but including a vehicle we had never seen before, and 2020 going all out with a full direct-to-consumer Master Builder Series set. And yes, it costs more than all the other sets combined, but it looks like it should, right? Let's go in depth. Some quick info on each Cantina set. Originally released in 2004, we have the OG Cantina with 193 pieces. This one retailed for $30, so it was the cheapest Cantina LEGO has ever released. And interestingly enough, it came in two different styles of box art, so that's definitely something cool about that set. This one from 2014 retailed for $70 with 616 pieces. Pretty neat set, and it was the introduction of the Bith Musician, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on. This Cantina from 2018 was a pretty big downsize from the 2014 version at just $40 or 376 pieces. However, it did include the Ubrikian 9000 pod for the first time, which I think got a lot of people to buy this set. Wouldn't have bought it otherwise. And of course, most recently in 2020, the Master Builder Series Mos Eisley Cantina with 3,187 pieces, $350. Far and away the most expensive and probably best Cantina they've ever made. And this comparison will not be like my typical LEGO Star Wars comparisons. We're not really trying to figure out which one's the best set or which one you should buy. You can come to that conclusion on your own from this video, I guess, but that's not really the point of this video. I just wanted to show you how the minifigures and the builds have changed over the years, and of course, in comparison with the giant Master Builder Series one, which is incredible. But let's take a look at the minifigs up first and see how those have changed since 2004. The original set included 5 minifigures with Luke Skywalker, Ben Kenobi, Han Solo, Greedo, and a Sand Trooper. The Sand Trooper lacking very much in detail, but they did have a backpack build for him, and they did give him a pauldron, so that was nice. You at least knew what he was supposed to be, even though he didn't have the printing that we see on the modern minifigures for those Sand Troopers. They definitely went up in detail a lot there. As far as the Greedo, I think this might have been peak Greedo. Maybe the torso print has definitely seen some work. That 2014 one got a massive upgrade, and 2018 saw an even bigger bump, 2020 being the same as 2018. But that arm printing and the color of his skin, I just think is really on point compared to what we see in the more modern Greedos. So you can see they made a big change there. I believe that's because they discontinued this color from LEGO, but you can still see it that it's a massive difference. As far as the Han Solos go, starting out with that yellow Han Solo there, and Ben Kenobi. You can see the Ben Kenobi and Han Solo see massive upgrades in 2014. Ben Kenobi even has some leg printing there. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that on the more modern Ben Kenobi, but the newer Han Solos are definitely better than what we saw in the original two sets. 2014 was the introduction of the Bith Musician, and that was a great figure to get. We didn't see it in the 2018 version, but we did see him again in the 2020 version. I don't have the instruments for my older ones. I don't know where I put them, but they're not too far off from what we see on the new characters, so as far as the instruments go, not a big deal. 2018 only made one notable addition, and that was Wooher. Wooher is the bartender, and that was the first time we saw him. We didn't get him in either of the previous sets. It was kind of sad we didn't get him in 2014 because there actually was the bar section, unlike the original 2004 set, but still, Wooher did make a return in 2020 here in the exact same form that he was in that original set. The 2020 set, of course, does have a ton more minifigures with 21 total minifigures, including 7 characters we had never seen before from the Mos Eisley Cantina scene. The Imperial Spy, Dr. Evazan, and Ponda Baba kind of being the highlights there for a lot of people, but the other 4 definitely great additions as well. And in total, with 21 minifigs, you just can't go wrong with that newer set. The older sets have decent figures, but I think the newer one really captures the real aesthetic of the scene with all those side characters. We've seen 3 iterations of the Dewback come in for LEGO here. Starting in 2004, we had a pretty rough-looking Dewback. It was in sand green, and then they updated the color for the more modern Dewbacks, which definitely looks better. The 2018 version notably did not have a Dewback. It's the only Mos Eisley Cantina set to not have such a thing. You can see they've also built on saddles for the Sand Troopers to ride on. I think the newest one is the best for sure. It's a really clean design, even has a little thing on the back there, which the older models definitely don't have. Now, I think with the newer Dewbacks, you can see on the bottom here, there's no markings, no hole, but on the 2020 version, there's actually a little hole, and then there's also a marking as to when this was produced. So kind of interesting small change they've made to that Dewback. They've also slightly changed the print on his face there. You can see the eye just has a bit of a different, sharper look. It's also worth mentioning that while the newer ones can open their mouth, and you see they have like printed teeth inside, actually really a sweet detail that is kind of surprising to see LEGO go in and do, but they do have it there. The older Dewback style did have more posability, so you get the tail to move, the feet to move, or the legs, and then the head could even bob up and down. So you do lose a lot of posability with the newer one, but it definitely looks better. The 2018 set was the only one that didn't include a speeder of some sort. The 2004 set had this Luke's Landspeeder in a very interesting color palette because LEGO was using different colors at the time, and for whatever reason they decided that this kind of pinkish color was the way to go. I don't know, it looked odd, but it was still a very nice speeder for the time. And the 2014 version, while having a better color palette, honestly, the build doesn't improve all that much. I mean, you have these new engine pieces with stickers, which look great, but on a basic level, the build is more or less the same. I mean, it's the same size, same design, mostly inverted tiles on the bottom, but obviously completely different speeder here for 2020 with the V35 Landspeeder. LEGO went ahead and released Luke's Landspeeder as a separate set, so in this set they were able to include something different, which was great, and it's something we may never see again in LEGO Star Wars. We've certainly never seen it before, and it's definitely a very sleek speeder that you only see very briefly on Mos Eisley, but it's great that LEGO put it in this set. I think that makes it special, and that's really nice to see. So those are the 3 speeders included in the Mos Eisley sets throughout the years. The Ubrikian 9000 pod has made appearances in just 2 of these sets, and that it's the 2 most recent ones from 2018 on the left in 2020 on the right, and surprisingly they made some changes. They added in black pieces instead of the translucent pieces there on the left. Not really sure why there's such a disparity there, because I think they could have just gone with black with the original one. I'm not really sure what the deal with that was, but they are largely the same design. Again, you have the black there, and you also have a change there from gray to white for that particular piece, but the stickers are the exact same. The design up underneath is the exact same. Another small change being the color of like that piece underneath the cheese slopes on the left and the right, but overall it's like the same design, except with this older model they went for more of a playset vibe and they gave it a stud shooter, which is obviously not accurate, and you could just pull it off if you want to, and then you have basically the same thing, but it was added on to give that $40 set a bit of added play value. You can open up both pods very easily, and you'll find very similar looking interiors there where you can actually have a minifigure sit in. And now we're going to look at each cantina based on the merits of it being the cantina, and we're going to remove all the extra stuff from the newer cantina, but it does include a Jawa shop, extra vaporators on the exterior. The 2014 version also does have a vaporator attached onto the outside, although it's a little bit finicky like that. And then they also have an area for your Dewback here on the outside, which is great. And then there's also like a small little side alley area there on the outside of the cantina that you can remove to basically just have the cantina if that's what you want. It's also worth noting that the 2014 version did have a small thing for your Dewback as well, but just not quite the same as what you see in 2020. Starting with the 04 Cantina, you can see just how small it was. It did not have a very large footprint. It did have 2 little sections that you could basically open up, which is a doorway and a small, like, basically serve yourself bar section. You of course could pit Greedo and Han Solo against each other, and you could keep Han Solo's weapon under the table. That was it. I mean, that was the cantina. It's crazy how small this thing is. I still can't believe how small it is, because it's one of those sets that I think not a lot of people own, and they kind of romanticize it because it's really old, but then you actually look at the cantina and you're like, oh my god, that is not a lot. I mean, it's like 70 pieces. This could be a poly bag, basically. It's incredible how small this thing is. Now, going from that to 2014, you can see that same scene there. Han and Greedo kind of got a slight upgrade. You have better looking chairs, but the supporting cast around it is what really makes this set. And using that Dewback bone piece in the back, you can actually push out these sections to give you even better access to them. Unfortunately, there's no feature yet built into the seats with Han and Greedo, but that's coming in the next version of the set. You did have the Bith Musicians area, which was great. You can also pull this back just as easily. Perhaps the worst aspect of this set is that it didn't include Wooher, because it had the whole bar section, had his weapon and everything, but no bartender. It was kind of a letdown, to be honest, that they didn't have him in this set, but in general, that bar section was really clean looking, almost as good looking as the one in 2018, but we're not quite there yet. Something that was pointed out to me in my review of the 2020 Mos Eisley Cantina is that this is actually a droid scanner, and I didn't know this, but this is on 3 of the sets. It's not on the original one, but it is on the other 2 here. So you have this doorway outside on the 2014 one, which is nice, but not like super important. You can open this to get way better access to that interior. You can also pull that up. You can see that droid scanner in there. Pretty nice little build with a couple of seats as sort of a waiting area in there. But this set can actually close up into a nice cube when you don't have figures in there. And it's also sort of ironic that the set without the bartender has more space for a bartender than the set with a bartender. And the set that does have patrons for the bar has less space for them to stand. You can see I had to make Luke lean back, than the set that has no patrons for the bar has more space. So kind of ironic in that way, but you can see the bar area for both sets compared pretty similar, but not quite the same. I would say maybe the 2014 one gets a slight edge. It's just a bigger, better looking bar in my opinion. But getting back on track here, this 2018 one did have a door just like the 2014 version. This door pulled open like that, and it had a little cantina sign above it that's like a sticker in Arabic. I think that's how you say it. Little control panel there, and that again leads into where the droid scanner is going to be on this particular set. You can see they used a sticker in this case, which I want to say is the exact same as what we saw in the 2020 version. So speaking of, if we take a look inside of there, it does appear like it is the same exact sticker design as the 2018 version. So you see a lot of stuff carried over from year to year here from these 2 versions. And from my understanding, this set was actually designed in 2016 and now released in 2020. This set being released in 2018 was probably just taking the small sections of this set, releasing them as kind of a holdover until they were ready to release the Master Builder Series set. So that seems to make sense to me. But let's go deep in on this cantina. Obviously, it has a lot more to give than these 3 cantinas even combined. I mean, this thing is really the full experience. Removing this little roof piece here, you get the full-on bar. I mean, you get it all, right? These other sets had just small sections. This set has the whole thing. And it also has characters to fill in around it, which is great. You also have much larger booth sections, which allow for a little bit more action with your minifigures and whatnot, which is definitely great. And one of my favorite features of the newer set that the older sets didn't really have was that they have like roofs over the actual booths. So with roofs, you know, you can't get in and get the figures like you can on these ones, right? That would definitely be a benefit. But they actually were very thoughtful on this, and you can actually remove these little roof pieces to access your minifigures inside of the booth sections. So even though it does have a roof, it is a fully removable thing, and that I think is great with the newer set. That's something they didn't do on any of the older ones, really. Maybe that, but I don't really count that. They have a couple of those pieces on this set that you can pull up and see into those particular sections. Now, another thing this 2020 version does that is somewhat similar to what the older sets do is it can open up, right? These other sets all kind of start out closed, and then you can open up to access more stuff more easily. This set closes up, makes a pretty nice display piece, and then you can actually open it up, and you get this whole middle section here that is the cantina bar. You got a little door for your minifigure to walk in and out of and woo her there, and then you actually have a section on the left with 3 different booths and a section on the right with 3 different booths. So with everything opened up, you can just see how much more intimidating this model can be from 2020. And it even has something that none of these sets have, and that is a back room for the bartender, which is a really ingenious thing to have included in there. You have like a little broom, you have buckets and whatnot, and then you even have a little wanted sign. These are the droids you're looking for the bartender there. So that's a really nice touch as a back room for the bartender. You have your characters that can fill out the space. The booths take plenty of space here. And then there is a feature that does carry over from the 2018 model. I didn't show off yet because I wanted to show it on the 2020 model first. You can make Han or Greedo actually fall out of their seats in the cantina. So if we push in on a piece back here, it actually just makes the figures kind of jump out. And this feature on this particular set is not that very well done. It is very weak. You can see I barely got the figures to jump anywhere, but the 2018 version surprisingly did it better. It may be the one place where this set is actually worse than any of the other sets. So with this older version, you can really just rear up and give it to them and make them go flying. And I had some second thoughts here. What if the intention isn't really to make them go flying, right? Because in the movie, they don't go flying. Maybe the intention is, like with the 2020 version, you just want them to slump over, because he's dead and he just kind of slumps over instead of goes flying 20 feet. So
maybe the 2020 version makes more sense, even though the 2018 version you can pack more of a punch. Fair enough, 2020, fair enough.
And here's one last look at all of the cantinas. Hopefully this video helped show you how much LEGO has progressed and changed in good and bad ways maybe throughout the years here from 2004 to 2020. And obviously the latest set is on a completely different level than these first three sets. It was made for a completely different audience, completely different reason. And, you know, you can see what the difference there is. So I wanted to show you guys what the cantinas looked like. I got a lot of requests to do that. So that is what this video was. If you guys enjoyed it, like would be appreciated. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And if you're interested in full reviews on any of these sets, I will have them linked down below. You can check out the full-on, in-depth review of the set if you want to see up close on the minifigs, all the little details, nooks and crannies. I have that in the review video, so check those out if you're into that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.